if you want us to enable your mic, we will enable that and you can ask directly and give us feedback. Okay, so we have a quiz at the end of, where we will select 3 lucky winners who will receive a MuleSoft voucher for training. So we have two organizers for this meetup. Myself, Shubham. I am working as a professional integration in Millennium. I am MuleSoft certified architect and developer, and I'm AWS, GCP, and Azure certified. Over to you, Giri.
Yeah, thank you, Shubham. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. Myself, I'm Giridhar, working at Haston as a senior architect, an architect and developer certified by MuleSoft. I'm also the leader of the MuleSoft Mysore group and MuleSoft mentor as well. So, we have delivered amazing topics in the previous months. I hope you all enjoyed. So your support and inputs are very important to us. Please do not hesitate to contact us if you have any suggestions or would you like to speak in any events or sessions through my Mysore group. Please, please feel free to reach us. Also, we have amazing topics are aligned in this month as well. So today we have Spandana with us, and this is their first presentation in the MuleSoft Meetup community. So she is going to speak about Anypoint MQ and guide us through a demo of it. So over to you, Spandana. All the best.
Thank you, Karim. Thank you, Shubham. Hello, everyone. This is Panna. I have like a good experience in MuleSoft. Like I've worked on like 5 years of experience in MuleSoft, and I worked on
You can share your
different
screen, Spandana.
projects. Sure.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yeah,
It,
visible.
yeah, it is up.
Yeah. So I worked on different projects like integrating multiple systems like SAP, Salesforce, Facebook, Snowflake. So yeah, and um, yeah, I'm happy to be here with you today, and hope let's have a good session and let's be interactive. Yeah, thanks everyone. We can get started now. Yeah, today's agenda is like to know like what is Anypoint MQ and what we can achieve through Anypoint MQ, and what this is the service provided by MuleSoft. So what are the pros and cons, and followed up with demo. Okay, yeah, let's start. So, what is Anypoint MQ? Anypoint MQ is one of the services provided by Anypoint Platform, and it is a cloud messaging service, which is a multi-tenant. Multi-tenant in the sense, one queue, like the messaging service, one queue can be utilized by different applications at a time. So that is what it is, like multi-tenant. And MQ supports large payloads. Like you can see here, it is a maximum of 10 MB. And we have Anypoint platform. We have a UI for Anypoint MQ, and through Anypoint MQ, I'll just show you. So yeah, this is Anypoint MQ UI. We can easily manage messages, and we can create messages, we can delete messages, we can send messages, we can like using the queues. You can see here, uh, we can see like how many queues we have created and what type of queues we have created, whether it is encrypted or not. So we basically, this is a UI, and it is fully integrated with Anypoint platform. So yeah, and it is easily manageable for anyone like a developer. And then there is one more thing, like we have a dead letter queue which MQ supports. So if there are any messages that are not delivered to its proper destination, that will be rerouted to dead letter queue. And then Anypoint MQ, it's an asynchronous messaging service. That means you don't have, I mean, like a publisher and subscriber need not to be active at a time. Like a publisher can publish a message to a queue, and it doesn't need to wait for the response. Whenever a subscriber is available, it can consume that message, so it is asynchronous in nature. And Anypoint MQ supports like nearly 1,20,000 messages in flight. What is in flight? Whenever a message is in the process of consumption, it will be in flight, and so that it will be not visible to other consumers. As I told you, like one queue can be utilized by multiple subscribers, correct? So let's say if there is a one message that has been already consumed in the process of consumption for one particular subscriber, it will be in flight, and so that it won't be visible to other subscribers. For example, if I open this queue, if you click on this, you can see message in queue and in flight. So if a message is in flight, other subscribers can't see that message. So it supports these many in-flight messages and in Anypoint MQ. So this is what is Anypoint MQ on high level. And then if we go for features, Anypoint MQ provides like multiple features you can see here. And the first one will go with REST API. So Anypoint MQ, it has connectors. For example, as I told you, this is a cloud service. It is deployed on cloud. For example, if you want to deploy this MQ to on-prem, we cannot do it, right? So in that case, we can either use Anypoint MQ connectors that has been provided, or we have REST services, REST APIs. So that through REST APIs, we can connect to Anypoint MQ. There, through the REST APIs, we can create a queue, we can like create an exchange, we can send the messages to queue, we can delete messages from the queue. So those operations are supported by REST APIs as well. And then, as I told you, like large payloads, it supports 10 MB of payload. Here, so there is no limit for number of messages in a queue, but there is a limit for the message size. So, and it is 10 MB, and it is like a large payload set it can access. And then message group. So I'll we are going to discuss about FIFO. That is one of the queue that has been provided by MQ. So FIFO, in the sense, first in first out. Like we using that queue, we can use messaging groups, so that in one particular group we can have certain set of messages, and we can create one more group so that it will have another set of messages. So that grouping can be possible through FIFO queue. And then disaster recovery. Disaster recovery. Basically, Anypoint MQ, it's like a high available service, because you can see here we have Anypoint MQ deployed to multiple regions, and each region will have a availability zone. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4 for North America. If any, let's say for example, if Northern Virginia is down, we still have three more availability zones, so that this region is still available. Like as one is down, it doesn't mean like the others can uh, help, like the other availability zones are still available, so that we can still go on and use Anypoint MQ, and in this way it provides high availability. And then we have encrypted queues. So encrypted queues, in the sense, whenever we create a queue, you can see, I'll just open this queue. We have encryption. So during creation itself, we can enable this encryption, so that Anypoint MQ will, I mean, it has a default encryption strategy, AES 256. So it will encrypt messages with that encryption mechanism. And if you don't want this default encryption, you can still encrypt your messages before sending to queues from your end, like whatever is the messaging like encryption strategy you want to use. You can still go ahead and encrypt your messages, but you have to make sure that encryption mechanism is enabled both at publisher end as well as subscription end, because subscriber should be able to decrypt that message. So this encryption, like by default, can be provided by MQ. And then usage information in the sense, if you have, I mean, this is a like trial account. Mm, but if you open the access management under subscriptions, you should see Anypoint MQ. If you click on Anypoint MQ, then you should see something like this, like which shows the uh, usage, like how many MQs are and how many queues are created, like how many messages are in use, how many API requests are happened, and those that data and the billing, like monthly billing you will get. So that usage information we can see from access management. If you have enterprise edition, like enterprise subscription, you should be able to see, like admin, whoever has admin access should be able to see this usage. And whenever for example, if monthly subscription, like the date has been like for example, if the bill hasn't been paid and it's been more than a month, then admin will get a notification. MQ still work, it will still work, it will let admin know that your subscription, like your monthly bill is pending and we have to pay that one. So that kind of usage statistics we can see here. And then client management, if you see, we have client apps. So we have both destinations and client apps. Destinations in the sense, like whatever queues, exchanges we create, those are visible in under destinations. And what is the client apps? Client app, we can create a user, we can create a application, like if you create it, we will get a ID and a secret. So with this ID and secret, a connection will be established between uh, connectors and Anypoint MQ here with platform, so that whenever we want to send any messages using Anypoint MQ connectors, so we should be able to make that establishment using this client ID and secret. That is the client management. And then Anypoint MQ connectors. So we have multiple connectors provided by Anypoint MQ: ACK, acknowledgement, consume, NAC, negative acknowledgement, publish, and subscriber. So these connectors we will discuss in coming up slides. And then delayed delivery for messages. I just show you. If we open this queue, we have assigned default delivery delay. If you switch on this one, so you can provide delivery. That means whenever a queue receives a message, um, like how much time it should be delayed before subscriber consumes it. So that can be provided. The time limit can be provided in here. And then we have queues and message exchanges. As you already see, we have queues. One is a standard queue, and the other one is FIFO queue, and the other queue is exchange. So these are the one of the features. And environment and role-based access control. You can see here, this is design, and we have sandbox. In generally, we'll have like dev, staging, and production environments, right? So for each environment, we'll have different different client ID credentials. It's not like this whatever queue, a queue whichever we created, it's confined only for this particular environment, and then for only for this particular region. We cannot utilize a message from this queue in a different region or a different environment. So that is like a environment specific and use a role based access control. So I mean this access for someone to create a queue, that is actually if admin provides an access to a particular user, then only he will be able to create a queue or to perform actions on the queue. Otherwise he won't have access. So that is environments and base control access. So these are the features of Anypoint MQ. Mm, yeah, you can see here like these are let's say queue IDs, that means queue names and type of queues, whether they are encrypted or not. That same thing what I've showed you here. Mm, any questions till here?
Spanda, we have answered, so you can continue.
Okay, sure, thank you. Now, yeah, type of queues. So MQ provides us with three type of queues. One is standard queue, and the other one is FIFO. So in standard queue, like what is a queue in general? It is like a temporary storage area where we can store whatever messages that are received so that they can be processed later or they can be processed at that particular time. And yeah, for in normal queue, standard queue, let's say there are 10 messages or 10 messages that has been pushed to that queue, and whenever a subscriber subscribes it doesn't mean that it will be processed in the order in which it has been the messages has been received. So it can be by random, it will pick any message and that will be processed. Whereas if you want, if your project has a strict requirement of processing messages in a order that has been received, then you have to go with FIFO, first in first out. So this is the difference between normal standard queue and FIFO. Whereas the other one is exchange. Exchange is nothing but it's like a topic where a single whenever a publisher publishes a message to exchange, it will broadcast those messages so that multiple subscribers can utilize, like process those messages. It is like a broadcasting of messages. So you can see here a publisher publishes a message to exchange, and exchange it will publish to queues which are bind to it actually. So we have to bind whatever queues that need to be published, and then from each queue the subscriber this message can be published to a subscriber. Um, if you see exchange, let's try to open this one. For example, for now I have only we have one queue and one FIFO. We cannot bind first in first out queue to exchange because first in first out is like a order based, right? It is if we push in if we have it bind to exchange, then the order may not be achieved. So and we can't even, like if you open this one, it don't even show you that FIFO queue. It will show you normal standard queues that can be bind. If I select this one, bind selected queues, successfully bound it. Now, if I select this one, you should be able to see bound queues. So testo is one of the queue that has been bounded. And now, whenever a message has been published to exchange, that message will be published to whatever queues that has been bounded. Here we just bounded like one queue, but we can bound multiple queues, and the limit is like 450 queues. We can bind these many 450 queues maximum to an exchange, and each queue can have like multiple subscribers. So yeah, and these are the type of queues that are available. And then yeah, dead letter queue. So dead letter queue is also a queue which will be utilized to publish the undelivered messages. Like for example, whenever we received a message in a queue and we try to subscribe it, and there has been some issues in our applications, or for some reason that message has not been processed completely to the desired destination, then that message can be routed back, automatically can be routed to DLQ, so that we can go back to DLQ and check and can analyze like what could be the reason that this message hasn't been consumed by the destination. And whenever we create a DLQ, we should keep in mind that what should be whatever is the parent queue. I mean, whatever is a parent queue, the DLQ should be of the same type. If it is a standard queue, the DLQ that you created should be a standard queue only. If it is a FIFO, the DLQ should be FIFO. And for example, like when we created this one, or I'll try to create one here only. So parent queue, and here you can see while creating these many options. So time to live for a message within a queue, it's by default it's 7, we can have increase it to 14. So maximum it will allow is 14 days. So after 14 days, whatever messages that has been in this queue, they will be deleted automatically. So maximum time to live is 14 days. And then acknowledgement timeout. When a message has been consumed, within, like, this is default 2 minutes, it can, you can increase or you can decrease as per your requirement. Within that time, if the message acknowledgement is not provided, then the message will return back. So if it is acknowledged, the message will be deleted from the queue. If it is not acknowledged, it will return back to in queue. So, and then assign default delivery delay. So we can assign some time so that it can deliver, it can delay the process of delivering messages. And then subscription. If we want a default subscription provided by MQ, you can click on. If no, you can have your own subscription, own encryption at your application level, and then you can push those messages to queue. Now assign a dead letter queue. So please choose. Yeah, I mean, it will show you like whatever available queues you have, so that you can select one. Reroute after 10 minutes. So whenever, as I told you, DLQ is for undelivered messages. So if after how many retry attempts, that message should be delivered to DLQ. So for example, in our application, there has been a error occurred out for first time, and if we give like two, it will retry for 2 times, and then after 2 attempts also, if it's still we are facing that same issue, this message automatically be like sent to DLQ. And this by default it is 10 attempts, but you can decrease it to how many attempts you want retry to be, and then we can create queue. You can see. This is how you can assign a letter queue, and this test parent will be the parent queue, and to the assigned DLQ. Now, as I told you, like if the parent queue is a standard queue, DLQ should also be a standard queue. If parent queue is a FIFO, then DLQ should also be FIFO. And yeah, and whatever DLQ you want to assign to a parent queue, it should be of the same region and from the same environment. We cannot assign a DLQ from a different environment or different region. They should be from the same regions. Okay. Yeah. And then, yeah, so how a message will be rerouted to DLQ, we can see it from here. At first, in a queue, will receive a message to the queue, right? And whenever a consumer trying to consume that message, based on after consumption. If it is like a, if we can acknowledge it directly, like we have multiple modes of acknowledgement. We can, I will discuss it in coming up slides. Now if that message that has been consumed, if that has been subscribed, if we acknowledge it, then that message will be consumed, and then that message will be deleted from the queue whatever we have subscribed. And then once it is consumed, the consumer will wait for the next message that will come. So it is like a happy path, that there is nothing to do with the DLQ. It is like a proper, like without any errors, a message will be consumed. Now if we don't acknowledge it, if we didn't acknowledge whatever message we got, it will search, if it will check whether there has been any redelivery items that has been assigned. Like if you can see, right, this we have assigned test was DLQ, and this is like maximum delivery items. For now, I gave two. It will check whether this items has been added or not, like has been provided or not. If it is provided, then if then it will check whether this maximum delivery items has been reached or not. Whether what it is the first redelivery attempt, or if it is a second redelivery attempt. And it will check if that redelivery items exceeded, like it's equal to or more than 2, then it will move that message directly to DLQ. That means it is not delivered, correct? So that acknowledgement is not provided, so that message is not consumed, and that will be rerouted to DLQ. If redelivery policy is not defined, I mean, for example, nothing has been provided, no redelivery, then it will actually wait for the next message. The consumer will actually wait for the next message. If redelivery items are not exceeded, then it will again it will wait for the consumer to consume, because it is not exceeded and it is not acknowledged. So that message will go back to queue, correct? So it will wait for the consumer to consume the next message, and this this will repeat again. It will again, the consumer will wait for the message, it will consume, and then it will check again whether it has been acknowledged or not. And if it is not acknowledged, it will check for the number of retry items. If it reached to maximum retry items, then it will move that message to DLQ. So this is how DLQ will work. Yeah, now coming to the type of connectors. So the from application, like from here, from UI, we can directly create a queue. We can directly like add a message to queue. I'll show you. For example, this is we created a test to queue, and we have a message sender option directly here, and we can send either text or a CSV or a JSON. So if it is not CSV or JSON, and if you want to send an XML payload, then you can select the type as text, and you can add your XML payload and you can send it. For now, let's say, let's see the message. So this is a payload, it is a text. You can send this one, message sent, and you can browse messages from here. By default, it will be 20. So these are the previous messages. The one which I just sent now, this is the one. This is the test message. So we can, I mean, what I'm trying to say is from UI, you can directly push a message to a queue. So that if there is a subscriber actively listening to this queue, that will consume this message. And one more thing, if now, I'll just try to open this one in a new tab. See, here it's in flight. Why? Because whenever we are trying to browse this message, that means we are trying to uh, it process these messages. like now these messages are won't available for a different subscriber because they are in flight. If I return these messages back to queue, then you should be able to see, I mean it will take some time, but these messages will come back to queue. Then a different subscriber should be able to consume these messages. So I mean it will take some time. It will come back to in queue because we return those messages back to queue. So we, I mean, like even though if we browse it from like from UI, then also you should make sure that messages are not logged. That means if someone is consuming, if you are not consuming it, but you are just browsing it, you have to make sure that those messages are returned back to queue. Otherwise, they are not available for the subscriber. Now, yeah, I mean, from UI, as we are doing these operations directly, we can, but from application, we have to achieve the same thing. So, MQ provided some connectors to us so that inside Mule application, we can use these connectors and we can achieve the same operations. So we have a subscriber connector. It's used to like subscriber message from the queue. Like we have to uh, specify from which queue we have to subscribe a message. So that can be done using subscriber connector. And through publish connector, we have this one publish connector. We can whatever message we want to publish to a queue, particular queue, we can publish that message to queue. And then consumer is a connector where we can consume one message at a time. For example, in your queue, like there are 10 or 20 messages. Like using this consumer connector, we can process one at a time. And then we have acknowledge and negative acknowledge connectors also. So acknowledge, for example, in your application, there are different mode of acknowledgements, as I said before. So if you don't want to acknowledge a message, for example, uh, you want to acknowledge a message only after your flow has been successfully processed. That means you manually want to acknowledge it. That at that time we can use an acknowledge connector. So you can acknowledge that message within the flow at whatever point you want. And then NAC, this is a connector to not acknowledge a message. Like by manually we are saying we don't want to acknowledge this message, so that after you if you send NAC, then that message whatever you try to consume, it will go back to queue. Whenever you don't want to delete a message that has you consumed it, and you if you send NAC, then it will go back to the in queue, so that it will still be available in queue. It won't be deleted. These are the connectors. And then yeah, message acknowledgement, I was talking about this acknowledging messages, correct? So once a subscriber receives a message, so we should give some sort of acknowledgement to the queue, correct? Like saying, okay, we received this message, we consumed this message, or we received this message but we didn't consume this message. So in for that thing we need an acknowledgement that need to be sent back to queue. And we have three types of acknowledgement modes. One is automatic acknowledge mode. When we have this in our connector selected, automatic as acknowledgement mode, it will acknowledge, like we don't have to do anything manually. It's just when the flow is successfully processed, then by default it will acknowledge the queue. It's just like once the message is received from the queue, like subscriber receives a message from the queue and it has been processed in the flow successfully, then an acknowledgement will be sent automatically to queue, so that that message can be deleted from the queue. And then we have immediate acknowledge mode. Immediate in the sense, like once you receive a message from the queue, before dispatching it that message to the rest of the flow, because subscriber will be in the source part, correct, in our flow. So once it is receive once it receives message, it will automatically, like at that moment, it will send acknowledgement saying message has been received. It doesn't wait whether you have consumed that message successfully or not. It will just, once you received it, it will directly acknowledge saying that message has been received, and that message will be deleted from queue. Now, the other mode of acknowledgement is manual. As I told you before, manual is like you have to send an acknowledgement instead of using like a automatic or immediate way. Whenever we use manual acknowledgement as a mode of acknowledgement in the connector, you should be able to you will get acknowledgement token. Actually, you'll receive acknowledgement token as an attribute from the subscriber. You have to save that acknowledgement token, and then in rest of the flow, at whatever point you want to acknowledge it, so you can use that token and you can acknowledge the message. Either you can acknowledge it, or you can like negative acknowledgement. You don't have to if you send an ad, that means you don't want to delete that message from the queue. So that is manual acknowledgement. Like from the application, you have to take care of sending acknowledgement. Yeah, so whenever in connector configurations, whenever you want to add a connector for publish, consumer, anything, these are the basic three configurations that we require. URL is nothing but to which region you have deployed. So this is the URL. You can directly use this URL. And then client ID and secret is nothing but from the client tabs. So you can add this client ID and this secret here, and then you are good to go. Use this connection details. Yeah, and one more thing. So in a subscriber, let's say for your application, you are calling external APIs or external systems. And let's say, for example, you are subscribing to a queue which has 10 messages, like as an example. If you have 10 messages, and then you will receive those 10 messages through subscriber, correct? And in your flow, you're making a call to external APIs or systems. At that time, let's say that external API is down for 5 minutes, or like for 10 minutes. But as we already subscribe to those messages will still go try to process, and they will fail, resulting in unnecessary errors. If we have, if there is any system API that is down, we can use reconnection strategy. But if you use strategy, it is done. It will, like, that application flow will be executed, and whatever error details we require, that we should be able to get it. But if you want to reconnect to it after certain amount of time, so we have a circuit breaker configurations in our connector, like a MQ connector that has been provided. If you use circuit breaker, it will actually retry, like it will reduce the unsuccessful attempts to connect to the external APIs. For example, like and it has three states, like how this can be performed is like, for the first time, let's say you you subscribe to a message, and there is an external API that you are trying to connect, and there is no issues. It worked perfectly fine, and you received like that message has been published to a, like, or that message has been processed, and certain required destination has been moved, that message to the destination, or that flow is successful. Then that state, we call it as a closed state. And it doesn't there won't be any much difference to whether we have whether we use circuit breaker or not. It is like a happy path. It worked fine. But let's say your application continuously for 2 or 3 times it is failing, and at that time, it you circuit breaker will know in circuit breaker we can actually provide what type of errors that we are expecting. If it is a connection error we are anticipating, and if that connection error happens, then circuit breaker will know, okay, this error has been occurred. Now it will we can provide how many times it can retry in that way. And then if it retried but it still the connection is not happened, then it will the state will go from closed to open. That means there won't be any messages that will be processing from now onwards, once that state has been changed to open. And then we will provide some time, right, as I told you. Then if that time has been reached, like that has been covered, for example, we gave that time as 2 minutes, and now that time has been it has been like elapsed. Now again circuit breaker will try to process a message, but this time it won't process everything, it will just try with a single message. It will try to process a single message, and then if it is successfully processed, then the process of this state, like if it successfully process one single message, that means it is in half open state. And once this is processed successfully, then it will go from half open state to closed. Okay. And then circuit breaker will know, okay, this application is working fine now, and it will be in closed status. If even after processing like one single message it is not processed successfully and it is still giving out errors, then it will still be in open state and no message will be processed. Like circuit breaker will stop consuming, make subscribers stop consuming the messages. So that is how circuit breaker will work, and I think we can have a separate session for circuit breaker. We can have a POC and we can look it uh, through circuit breaker. For now, it is like a high level overview why we need this circuit breaker. Okay, and then yeah, we have, I mean, we'll get these type of these are the possible errors if we use any point MQ connector. We may get like while acknowledging it, if if within a time period if you not acknowledge a message, it will throw acknowledgement error and timeout error while publishing. If you're not able to connect to a particular queue, it will throw error. Like for example, if you provide incorrect credentials, like you are trying to consume a message from dev environment but you provided like staging URLs or something like that, it won't be able to publish those messages, right? It won't be able to consume, and connectivity errors you'll get. If you give incorrect queue name, you'll get destination not found. So these are some sort of errors that will receive while using connectors. Yeah, and then one more. I mean, this is one of the features we discussed before, correct? Anypoint MQ REST APIs. So, as I told you, like we cannot deploy Anypoint MQ in on-prem, but still if we want to use, we have connectors so that we can connect our applications to Anypoint MQ, and then we also have REST APIs. So the application can use these REST APIs to connect to Anypoint MQ, and we can perform that same operations like how we do it through connectors. Like we can create a message, we can publish a message, we can subscribe to a message. That means we will receive messages, and we can even get statistics of the MQ. And what are the three different APIs that are provided are MQ Admin API, Broker API, and Stats API. MQ Admin API is it will manage the destinations in the sense the queues, whatever we have. Like through Admin API, we can directly create through REST API. We have to provide queue details so that it will directly create a queue in here without using UI or without using UI. So we can create a queue, we can create an exchange, So we can delete a queue, we can perform those operations using admin API. Okay. And then broker API, this broker API, using broker API, we should be able to retrieve message. I mean, here in admin API, we will be able to create a queue. We won't be able to push any message to that queue. It's just like admin level, like we should be able to create and manage those queues. Whereas broker API is used to push any message and to retrieve any messages from a queue. So those operations can be done using broker API. Whereas the stats API is to give the statistics like how many queues has been created, how many messages are there in a queue. Uh, that kind of information we can get it from stats API. And I'll just show you. So if I, sorry, I think just copy this one. So what are all the endpoints that has been like what operations we can do using admin API that we can see from here. And if you go to summary, you should see these many endpoints we have. I mean, based on our requirement, it doesn't mean we have to use all of them, but these many operations and these many endpoints are provided for us, so we can utilize any one of them. If you can see, I was talking about creating a queue, correct? So you can see here, patch get put delete. This is the URL, REST API we can connect to. And here you can see organization ID, environment ID, and region ID and queue ID. Queue ID is nothing but the queue name with which we want to create a queue. And organization ID, environment ID, we can get it either from the URLs directly. You can see here, I was in design, right? And if you click on your, you should see organizations, and this is organization ID from URL, and it won't change. Like for this environment, this organization id will be same across environments. It's just that environment id will change. This is for design. If you create a dev environment, it will have different id. And then destination is this one, us. You can see, you can have it from here also, mq us east one. So this is the region. Destination and region ID, they are same. And then test to, you can see I selected test to, that is the Q ID. So in this way, you can fetch these environment and organization IDs from the URL, or your admin also can provide those details. Like if you go to access control, so from here, sorry, if you click on it, you should be able to see business group ID, client ID, environments, design. Okay, I think environment IDs we can get here also. Hmm, okay. Group ID is nothing but the organization ID only. Environment IDs we can get it from environments as well. Yeah, we should be able to get it. And otherwise, yeah, we can directly have it from this environment. It is a static value; it won't change every time. So per environment, we'll have one ID. So you can have these IDs, and then you can use them. So I mean, during demo, I'll show you like how we can create. But yeah, if you open, let's say, put, you can have this request format. So default time to live, delivery delay. If you are assigning a DLQ, if you want to assign a DLQ whenever you are creating a queue, then you can send DLQ details. That means you have to create a DLQ first, and then you can send the DLQ name, like you can add that name. You can have maximum deliveries, like here by default it's 10, you can have whatever deliveries you have. If you don't want to assign any queue, you can just remove this one, like you don't have to send these two fields. And if you click on if you send request, that queue should be able to create it. And if you want a FIFO, like a standard queue, this is a standard queue. If you want a FIFO to be created, then there is one key value pair that you have to add, that is FIFO colon a boolean value is true. If you send true, then FIFO will get created, queue will get created. And for both FIFO and standard queue, this is the URL, this is the endpoint. But if you want to create an exchange, then we have a different URL. So this one, destinations exchange. Here we have queue, destination queue, QID, but here it is exchanges and exchange ID. Whatever exchange name you want to use, you can use it. And in the same way, we can do a put request. We just need to provide whether it's encryption, you need encryption, or you don't need an encryption. It will respond back. Okay. So yeah, this is for admin. This for admin API. Just try to get this broker API. Endpoint MQ broker, the other one. So same, how we have for admin, we have endpoints. So if you want to send a message, so you can send a message to the particular queue. And the thing is, like, you have to, okay, I just want to show you when we open a queue, browse. You can see this ID right here. This is nothing but a message ID. If you provide this message ID, it will create message ID with whatever you have provided. Otherwise, it will by default create a random ID for your message. Okay, now if you want to provide ID, you need to send that message ID as well. Now, and then if you retrieve if you want to retrieve that messages from the queues, you can have a get call. And yeah, so and then we have stats. Same. We have been provided with multiple endpoints. So yeah, for stats, actually we don't do any modifications or anything, correct? So it is always get call. It just we want to retrieve information. So we can retrieve information at either environment level or organization level. So those details will receive like a monthly billing amount, like what are the number of queues, what are the number of messages, and all those details. And yeah, one more thing I just want to show you. Mm, yeah, in access management, I was talking about this usage, correct? Where we'll get usage details. And we have audit logs as well. Here you can see under organization. You can, we have multiple filters here. You can select Anypoint MQ. You can select either exchange, queue, client, anything, so that you should be able to see this type of information. At what time it has been created, like, or modified. You can see here action is create. So this is time at what time it has been created, and whether it's a queue or it's an exchange. It is for 1 hour. I'll show you for 1 week. So you can see who created this queue. Those details you can get it from audit log. You can even download this one. Once you download, you should see an information like this. So, like what is the product? Uh, It's an Anypoint MQ. What type of operation has been done, like action? You can see delete queue, purge queue, create queue, um, objects, like API queue names, sorry, and who did these changes, those usernames you can see, and whether it has been successfully or processed or not, failed in the sense it's false, that means they are successfully processed, action has been performed successfully. Like in that particular queue, what is the message you have? So those details you can see, and yeah, so you can use audit logs also. To check uh, actions that are performed on queues. And yeah, you if you want to delete a queue, you can directly have this option, delete queue. If you only want to delete messages inside queue, you have to use purge messages. So, uh, like be careful while you delete anything. Yeah, these are the three REST APIs that has been provided by Anypoint MQ, and yeah, and limitations. Limitations. I mean, I told you like we cannot deploy this to on-prem. So, but still we have other options to overcome this limitation. We can use REST APIs. We can use connectors to connect to Anypoint MQ, and then if the payload is more than 10 MB, we cannot send that message. I mean that queue will say throw an error like payload is too large. So it is like confined to 10 MB. Yeah, and then we can proceed with demo. So any questions so far?
Spandana, we have one question like from Yogesh. In any point MQ, in any point MQ, is there any option like message selector? For example, like message have different message properties headers, and we need to consume that message with specific using that particular specific header or property.
Okay, whenever you publish a message, so you can define user properties. For example, if a subscriber want to uh, let's say, I'll try to create one, a normal queue. So open this message sender, right? So you should be able to see some properties. If you want anything like if a subscriber want to utilize the properties from a publisher, then it can be utilized from the user properties only. Like you should specifically send them as a user property so that a subscriber will receive them as attributes. Okay, and those attributes you should be able to use. Is
Okay,
this
does
answered your
yeah,
question?
does that answer your questions, Yogesh? Yeah, thanks. Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, you can continue with the demo. If you have any question, you can ask like right away, anytime.
Yeah, hi. Hi, this is Shiva. So initially there was a mention of disaster recovery for the MQ, but
Yeah.
we did see that whenever the region changes, the URL of that queue changes, right? So how would that work?
URL of the queue. So
Because
this one you are talking about,
yes,
right?
yes. So this is US East one. So if you change uh, the region of this, I think this changes, right?
Yeah.
Could you like
Um,
describe your question more? Like I think see, for example, if you suppose if you deploy a queue to this US East, so internally, I mean internally it uh, MuleSoft is deploying your queue to multiple like
multiple
availability zones.
availability zones.
Yeah. So the exact number, like how many availability zones they are deploying to, they have not like revealed that. But so I mean, yeah, so they are deploying to multiple availability zones for whatever region like you are deploying to. So does that explains like your question?
Uh,
So
yeah,
I mean, those messages will be they will be in different availability zone. Like they are not lost, so you can still get them, right? You can still
yeah,
use them.
but what happens in the connector is you give this URL for the consumption of that message, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I was just confused of how that works. Yeah.
Okay. If you have any, I think we can have from Mule application also we can achieve that. For example, if you can in the connector, if you can give those URL details as a dynamic value instead of directly providing them, right? So either any of these URL should be part of it. Then we can achieve, like if one is not available and the other it can pick up, correct?
Okay,
I
Shiva, like,
think I don't think it will be automatically. Like we still need a human intervention. Like whenever disaster, I mean during disaster recovery,
Okay.
I guess. So I mean we should be able to change this URL to the availability zone, availability zone, and then we can deploy our applications again and we can perform our operations. Correct?
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions?
do we have any more questions? Or
Hello, this is Hari.
yeah, Hari.
Yeah. Initially, I was looking into the three types of MQs, right? So I could understand the
Yes.
first in, first out, and the normal one. So with respect to
Mm-hmm.
exchange, right, we can't implement the exchange without any other queue, right? Because we need to bind that for publishing as well as for consumption. Is that correct or is that something different?
Sorry, can you repeat
No,
your question?
Your
like,
voice is like little low.
A
Can you
little.
speak loud, little louder?
yeah. Is it better now? Hello.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Good,
yes.
good.
So the first queue, the normal queue, and the first in first out, I can understand. The second
Hmm.
exchange, how does that work? So we need to bind these other type of queues to the exchange, then only it can work,
Correct.
or we can.
Yes, yes. So I mean, to which so exchange we have to specify to which queues that messages need to be. I mean, like it is a broadcaster, right?
Okay.
So we should specify to which queue that messages need to be published again. I'll
Spananda,
show
yeah,
you.
you can show in the UI. That will be helpful.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Actually, my question is like, is exchange a separate queue, or is it kind of a behavior for the queue? That's what I'm asking.
It is like a type of queue only,
Okay.
where it will have queues within it, and then those queues will be published. Like it's like a one to many
Okay.
broadcaster thing. So
Yeah.
you
Okay.
can see like how many queues you want to bind, that many queues you can bind, so that once this exchange receives a particular message, that will be broadcasted to more than one queue, so that all the other queues can be uh, like utilized for like the subscriber should be able to use the messages from the queues. You
Okay.
can see here.
Yeah. Publisher will
So
be
we have a
publishing the
limit of
message to this exchange queue, and from that,
hmm.
the queues which
From
has
that,
been binded, it will be
yeah.
taking up the messages from it. Okay.
Yeah, those messages will be published to this queue
Okay.
at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks. It's clear.
Hello.
Any other
Yeah, I
questions?
have one question, Promit here again.
Yeah.
So, you showed about the encryption property while creating a queue, right? So,
Correct. Correct.
So when we are posting the message to the queue, it is an encrypted stage. But when we want to see the message in the browser, like when we click on the get message,
Mm-hmm.
it comes
It
out.
will
Yeah,
show.
it shows
It
the
will
message
show
in a
normal.
decrypted value.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So I mean, this is a default encryption, as I told you, correct? I mean, while the queue, okay, I'll tell you one thing. Whenever we any publisher publishes a message to a queue,
mhm,
apart from uh, apart from text, if any other format of payload that comes to a queue, like it can be CSV, JSON, or XML or anything, it will convert that to a string and saves the payload within the queue. That is one thing. Okay. And then if we enable encryption, Anypoint MQ has its own encryption, and I mean it will internally have that encryption happen. Okay. I
yeah,
mean we will still able to see that messages like yeah, in
yeah. So the
decrypted format.
messages are getting decrypted and being shown in the UI, right? So do
Uh,
you suggest to put
I
explicit encryption?
Yeah, that could be like if your client doesn't even want to see those messages
Hmm.
like in this way, then we have to implement our own
Okay,
encryption.
okay,
Like you can encrypt it using base64 or something. You can
right.
publish that message to a queue and then add the subscription, and you can decrypt it
Decrypt it.
using the same
Okay,
encryption. Yeah.
yeah.
just to add, like this encryption is only for the queues, like when the data is traveling from one queue to another, not for the user. We can say like when you say like when we go and in the browser and we can see that even when we are getting the data in our API. So these are not application level encryption. This is queue level encryption, which is done
Yeah.
internally, like from exchange to queue it is going, or suppose from one queue to another it is going. Then at that time it is maintained. For application level, you need to write some logic to manually do some encryption logic over there.
Correct.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Thanks,
Any
Abhishek, for
other
mentioning that
questions?
point. So yeah, I mean, generally it is like recommended to use your encryption, like, because see, s- everyone like see, if a user like developer wants, he can see the code, see the like you I mean the value that they don't want to see. So we should like and this like stop it for everyone. So we should do this user encryption for in the customized way. Okay, so yeah, any other question? Think we don't have any, so you can proceed to demo, Svanda.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, through connectors, I was just saying, right? Like whatever operation we perform from UI, that we should be able to do it from application also. And you can see Anypoint MQ provides these many connectors. And if it is first time, you this connector may not be available in your studio. You just need to download it from Exchange. Like you can log into your Exchange and you can search for Anypoint MQ, then you can download this one and you should be able to use them. Now, for example, if we go with publish, let's say, if I open this one, you should be able to see connection configurations. I just open this one. So I just externalize them. So this will be the URL, like you can copy it from here. And then client ID and secret is the one client tabs we created it, right? And as I told you, like it is like environment specific. These credentials we cannot use for other environments or other regions. It would be confined to this particular region and this particular environment. Okay. And if let's say, if for example in a project, two different groups are using this one same client tab, and let's say one group they don't need this anymore, then to confine, to restrict these credentials, you can regenerate a secret, so that, and you can share this new credentials with the group that still wants to use them, and the other group, this restriction will apply and they won't be able to connect to MQ anymore. Okay, so we can, when we generate a regenerate secret key, it will create a new one, and we should be able to use those credentials in here. Okay, and then yeah, if you see destination is nothing but the queue name to which queue we want to connect to, we want to publish our message to. So that queue name. Now here I just kept it attributes.query name because from request I'll be sending like to which queue I need to send a message. But in your application, if you know like which particular queue you are specifically using for your flow, you can mention that queue. And here in body we can send the payload, the message what you want to send. And this is user properties I was talking before, someone asked, right, like if we want to use properties from the publisher, how can we use them? So whenever you are we are publishing, correct, along with payload, if you can publish some user properties so that you can differentiate your messages. Or for example, if you are using same queue for two different use cases, example, and then you can have operation. For example, for one queue you are using this queue for publishing publish message, and for the other use case you are using this queue to perform a different operation, like to get messages or anything. You can define that operations to whatever you need, and you can publish this message. So once you publish this message, those user properties you should be able to see here, or when you open, when you browse your messages, you should be able to see those properties. And these properties which you user properties which you use to during publish which you send, you should be able to retrieve them as an attribute from subscriber. Like when the subscriber subscribes to a message from this queue, then you will get attributes from here. In that attributes you'll have those user properties, and you should be able to use those properties in your flow. Okay, so yeah, that is one. And then I was yeah, you can, I was talking about message ID, correct? So if we specify any message ID, then with this message ID that message will be pushed. Otherwise it will MQ itself, like it will generate a random message ID, as I showed before. So this is like a random message ID created. Otherwise, whatever message ID we send, it will be there. And then message group ID. We were talking about FIFO, correct? So first in, first out. So if you want to have a group, you can specify a particular group under which you want those messages to be sent, and then that can be defined in here. If you don't want any message groups or anything, you can simply ignore this. You don't have to mention anything. And then this is the delivery delay unit if you want any delay in the message. Okay, so this is for the publish connector which you can use. And let's and subscriber connector. Here in subscriber, the same connector configurations. If you have client ID and secret and URL, if you have different, if you want to subscribe to a different queue from different region, then you may have a different connection. You have to create connection configuration, and then you have to specify from which queue you want to fetch messages, which queue you want to subscribe messages. And then if you see here, we have a subscriber type, that means either polling or prefetch. So what is prefetch? By default, you will have a prefetch as a subscriber type, and you will have 30 as local messages. You can change this one. So what is prefetch? For example, if we have 100 messages in our queue, if we give subscriber type as prefetch, in 100 it will fetch all the 30 messages and it will store in local, so that later you can subscribe, like use those messages here. if you, I mean, you can specify any number, that is design number. If it is polling, you have to mention how many messages you want to fetch, and maximum size, if you for polling you can fetch is only 10. If you give size greater than 10, it will throw error saying fetch size can't be greater than 10. So you will be able to fetch 10 messages at a time. And frequency, at what frequency these messages need to be polled, like for every 1 second or for every 1 minute, you can specify that frequency in here. So, and yeah, if you, for example, if you have prefetch as a subscriber type, and if your acknowledge mode is immediate, then that means once these messages are subscribed, like messages are retrieved, as they will be stored in local correct, and then as the acknowledgement mode is immediate, those messages will be deleted from queue. So you have to make sure, like be specific, like if you want those messages to be deleted as long, I mean, as fast as it got received, you can have immediate, or you can have the other modes. And if it is auto, as I told you, these are the acknowledgement modes. Once the flow is successful, then only it will acknowledge. In manual, we have to use either ASIC or NAT connectors to acknowledge. And then acknowledgement timeout. You remember, like we when we create it, here we are providing some acknowledgement timeout. By default, it will be 2 minutes. But in your application, from your application, if you specify some particular timeout, so this will be given priority. So and whatever connections you provide through connector will be given priority, and it will work accordingly. So acknowledgement timeout, you can increase, you can decrease, whatever you can do. Um, yeah, and then this polling, you can see strategy, correct? It's scheduling strategy. If it is a fixed, you can directly provide 2 minutes or like hours, milliseconds, anything. You can use cron expression also. Cron expression, if you are not aware, so we have multiple online tools. For example, your application need to be subscribed some messages only at some particular time. For example, if you see, we have, I mean, this is one of the online tool, free formatter. You have, if it is seconds, you can minutes, hours, days, you can select. If you select this one, every 1 second starting at 00. So for every second, you want your subscriber to poll messages. Okay, then you can see this is the cron expression. Okay, if you want what exactly is this, again, if you paste it here, and if you say describe expression, it will say every second starting at every 00. That means for every second, every single day, at every hour. If you give minutes or hours or day, let's say every day starting on Sunday, it has to, yeah, this is a chronic expression. So if it is like you have specific time that has been given to you, when you need to poll messages, then you can use a cron expression. Okay, we have tools to get the cron expression if you are not aware how to use that one. And you
Spandana,
can
we have one question. Like
yeah.
from Yogesh, if we make it scheduled frequency, can we
Mhm.
change cron expression after deployment?
After deployment, yeah, if you, yeah, you can do that, but what you have to do, you have to externalize this one, and you have to place it in your property files, and in runtime properties, like once you deploy your application to cloud, right there you can see runtime properties. There you can define and whatever cron expression you need. As it is externalized, it will I mean, you might have added in any of your dev stage or prod properties, right? So you can, yeah, replace it. But
Yeah,
every time it get deployed, that runtime property, as you're adding manually over there, that will be removed. You have to make sure if there is any new deployment, you still have to go and add the cron expression again. Is it okay? I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get
that
it.
answers the query. We have one thing like no, we from Pratap, like no, we can't. How to change scheduling strategy? Can you like explain your question, Pratap? See if you.
So I think he's telling in reference of Yogesh. So Pratap, what Yogesh is asking, he's saying like if we have choose scheduling strategy and then we are choosing cron, then without redeployment, can we change the cron expression? Yeah, but if you want to change the strategy itself, then yes, you need to make the changes in the code and
Change
redeploy.
in
Yeah.
application,
Even
yeah,
for
and
changing the cron
redeploy.
also you need to redeploy. Even though in the runtime property, like you are going to your deployment mode and there in the properties you are changing, you need to apply the change and it will redeploy your application again. So like it's kind of restart, even though you externalize it using the property files. Yeah.
Do we have any more question? Oh, okay. You can continue, Spandana.
Okay. Yeah, and then yeah, I told you about the circuit breaker, right? So you can configure circuit breaker here. Written line, we can give trip timeout. We can specify like whenever particular error happens, then the circuit breaker should work. If it is a by default, you can see timeout. We can specify. If it is a timeout, then circuit breaker will know, okay, this error has been occurred. We can give trip timeout. So if we, whatever time we mention under trip timeout, it will wait till this time has been elapsed, and then it will try to reconnect again. I told you about the half open state, correct? So it will try to process one message and see if it is success or not. If it is a success, then it will change the state to closed, and it will work normally. Like messages will be pulled, and flow will be executed. Yeah. So this is subscriber and acknowledgement. Yeah, this is the acknowledge connector. I was saying correct. Like if we have manual, if we have so here, if it is a manual, then we have to provide acknowledgement manually. That means it won't happen automatically. We have to once we change it to manual, from here we'll get a attribute which says ACK token, and from we can save that attribute. You can see here I saved it in a variable, so that this variable you can use while acknowledging it. Like if you place that ACK token here, then that means this flow is being successful. And at the end, we placed it, and we are saying, okay, the message now can be acknowledged, and that message can be deleted from the queue. For example, if anything happens, like it is not going till here, if any, for example, in this flow, if any syntax error or anything in here, data weave or anywhere, any error occurs, it go to error handling, correct? And in error handling, we can say I mean, this same token, acknowledgement token, it can be used for both acknowledgement and not acknowledgement. If we send this acknowledgement token, that means we don't want to acknowledge it, and we want that message to be returned back to queue. So that is how we can use both ACK and NAC. And yeah, there we have one more, consume. I told you, right? Consume, we can consume one message at a time. It's just same connector configuration. We just need to mention from which queue we want to consume a message. And once we consume that message, we want it to be immediately acknowledged or manually we want to acknowledge it. So, and how much, I mean, polling time, like which interval we have to poll these messages. So those things we can mention. And yeah, consume is for like to consume one message at a time. So you see, we don't have any configuration related to number of messages, either prefetch or polling. So yeah, correct. So I'll just try to show one particular flow, like how it works. I'll try to add a So it's deployed, and 081, this is on. So I'm sending queue name as a query param to make it dynamic. You can see queue type standard and message, like what I want to send. Yes, message. I mean, for now, I'm just using a string, but in real time, you will have either JSON, like big payloads or multiple payloads you have. For just testing purpose, I'm using this one. So yeah, this is the message I want to publish, and this is like entire payload I want to publish. Here I'm giving message ID as 10002 because sorry. Here previously I was sending message ID. See this one, message ID. I don't want a default message ID that has been generated. So what I'm trying to do, I have my like in code, we are trying to generate message, like we are trying to send message ID, and then message group for a standard queue. We don't need it, but this is the payload which I want to send. Now, send. It came here. You can see this is the payload which I'm trying to send. Okay, it has been published. You can check in here whether that has been created or not. Okay, what is it? Queue name admin API FIFO, but this is not a FIFO queue which I created. Like, sorry, admin API FIFO. Okay, yeah, this we already have. Just refresh this one. Oh, is it consumed? I got, I think it's somewhere a subscriber is there. Yeah, I'll do one thing. I'll stop this one. I mean, you saw it. Like there is an active listener to this message, to this queue, admin API FIFO. So once the message has been pushed here, the subscriber immediately consumed it, because here in we already have. I mean, I didn't provided any cron expression, so it is actively listening, and we receive. You can see here in log, like this is other test message. I'll just stop this one. There is one more subscribe. We'll start. Okay. We save this one. Yeah, let's deploy it again. It is published. And see, is there any other subscriber? No. So we should have it. Okay. Didn't receive admin API FIFO. Let me just complete this flow. Okay, I try to pull with different name. This is a normal queue. It shouldn't be. We should receive. I don't know if there is a subscriber place somewhere. Or maybe I'm giving same message ID. Yeah, now it's in here. API before. If there are no messages in here. I mean, we should be able to publish to the same queue also. Think somewhere I missed something. Yeah, we have one message. Say we have two messages. Browse. Sorry, browse.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, purging messages can help. Maybe you can just purge messages and try.
Yeah, sure. So this is a message ID which I try to push, correct? So yeah, if we provide any ID, it will. But if we don't provide, it will automatically generate its own ID. Purge messages. There are nothing, but yeah, I can do that. Now it's here. The message which I pushed to this queue. Fine. Now, if I'll just stop this one. I'll just change this to perfect, and then it will be immediate. I just don't modify anything of this. I'll just stop when it reaches here. And the subscriber is just demo 001. We have that one? No. We have two messages in flight. Okay. I think I opened this one and I didn't. I'll do one. We have test to have some messages. I'll just test to. And immediate. Save this one. I'll just enable this flow. Save it. I'll use same test tone to publish messages. Okay, we already have some messages in here. So it came till here, and I just want to show some attributes. Uh, yeah, you can see. I was saying right from subscriber, if you want any properties that from publisher we should receive, we should send them as user properties, and those properties will be under attributes. So if when from subscriber, you can see operation as publish message. This is what I used before. So not only, I mean, here for an example, it's an operation, but anything else, any particular ID, transaction ID, or anything you want to maintain to track the message that has been published from the queue until subscribing it and processing it, you can use always use user properties to fetch those details. Okay. Now I think we'll get some error, but yeah, let's see. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do in here is I'm just trying to send it as XML, but because I'm not giving any root level element, it is throwing error. Now it should go to error handling. Now, but this is of no use because see here we kept acknowledge mode as immediate. If you want to not acknowledge it, if you want to acknowledge it, you have to have this token, correct? Access token. If it is immediate mode or if it is an auto acknowledge mode, we don't get this access token in attributes. Uh, if you see this variable I saved attributes dot access token, now it will be actually null. It should be null or empty. Yeah, see, if it is a manual mode, then the acknowledgement token will be available and you should be able to acknowledge it. So yeah, I'll just, yeah, there are like few other messages. Like we did a prefetch. Now all the messages in queue will be in flight only. Like okay, they are already we consumed them. Like we prefetched it. So all those 5 messages are in local, and then that will be processed. So there are 0 messages in here, and again we'll get some error because this data we've had some syntax level errors. And yeah, if you think this transfer message as an external API, for example, now you can see, right, we have all those 5 messages that has been fetched, and we now know anyway this application will definitely fail. So these messages are unnecessarily being processed. If we have a circuit breaker in place, then I mean, this is only 5 messages, but if it is like large set of messages in a queue, like 1,000, 2,000, something like that, then at that time we can like circuit breaker will stop these messages to be fetched actually from the queue, and then it will open state will be open and no messages will be consumed. It will wait for the trip time to be allowed, then the trip time to be completed, and then it will change the state to half open and then try with one single message. If this process is success, then again it will change the state to open, and the other messages will be processed, and it will try to pull messages from the queue. So that is the reason we can have circuit breaker in place for our applications. I'll just stop this one. Anyway, it will throw error. Yeah, so this is how we can use our publish and subscriber connectors. I'll show you acknowledgement. This one also. I'll change it to manual. Sorry, manual. I'll change this polling. One fetch one message. I'll change it to 1 minute. Okay, about this one. We are subscribing to test 2, correct? So now we don't have any messages. I'll try to push 1 or 2 messages to test queue, and then we'll see how we are getting acknowledgement token. It got deployed. I'll change name to test 2. This is one message. I'll try to push this one. It will be published now. So yeah, it is published and this is actively listening to that message. So that one message, it received, and now I'll show you attributes. You can see acknowledgement token. This is how it will look like. And I save this acknowledgement token inside this variable attributes.ack token. Now yeah, ACK token is the name with which it will be reside in attributes. Now, this variable, I saved it with the same name, ACK token, and it is stored in a variable. Now, we already know this will give error. Now, it will go to NAT. That means we don't want to acknowledge this one. And I'll show you. Here, test 2. It's in flight, correct? That means it's in the process of being consumed. And as we are using manual acknowledgement, this message is still in flight, it is not deleted. And now we are sending not acknowledgement. Then it should come back to in-queue. It will come back to in-queue. It is not deleted. And next time, this will again, as it is still actively listening, it will again come to this flow. It will again the subscriber will try to consume it and it will try to process this one. In the same way, how we did not acknowledge this one, if this is a correct syntax, it will go till here, it will acknowledge it. Okay, it consumed it. We gave a time period of 1 minute, right? So after 1 minute, it got consumed, and then it will acknowledge this. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll just simply also edit. I'll just complete this one with error. It will go to Mac, it, and then I will stop. It can back to here. Okay, I just stop this application, and otherwise it will consume it. We just change this to JSON. Now I'll just remove breakpoint. As we still have this message, I'm not pushing any new messages. It will. So as there are no any basically, and we have acknowledged this one. You don't have Yeah, it got deleted. We acknowledge. So we can use this connect to achieve like to use connect for applications. Now, as I told you, we have REST APIs. So, these connectors, like instead of using UI, I told you correct, like using admin API, we can create a queue. Yeah, using admin API, we can create a queue. We'll do one. Yeah. So, this is okay. I think like whenever we are trying to use, should get an access before connecting to that particular. This access token, how will get here? Login. We have an endpoint called accounts login. Okay. So we just have to pass our Anypoint platform credentials, username and password. Then if we hit this URL, get a response. So yeah, I think I ran this application. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll just try to hit this one. So this is the QID which I want to like this URL is for my local application, like whatever I've created, this listener URL. I'm just trying to provide queue name. Admin API would be the queue name, and it will be a standard queue which I'm trying to create. So this would be some sort of response we should get like once it's successfully created. Send this message. Yeah. So it is created. I mean, so this is the endpoint which I use. Like whatever queue name that I'm getting, I'm just passing that queue name. You actually the endpoint. So this is one put message.
Hey Giri, I think we are not hearing his voice, her voice.
Yes, Shubham. Let me check with this.
Yeah.
Standard queue. If we want a DLQ to be assigned
Hey
to this
Spandana,
queue, yeah, yeah.
we just like lost you for a while. Could you repeat like what you were
Okay. Can I know, like, did you get a
one?
chance to see
Yeah,
when I
30 second
hit this
only.
message? Okay, okay. Yeah. So we see the success response, correct? So I'm just going back to Anypoint platform. I just refreshed this page and I was just checking if the queue which I have been provided with this name has been created or not. And I can see it is created. I provided only these details: encryption false, and then by default DTL delivery delay, and it is a standard queue. So that has been created with that. For example, if I want to create a FIFO, I just have to provide FIFO to change this name. This one. It says created like successful. I'll just try to refresh this page. You can see here. Mm, it is not a FIFO queue that has been created. It's just normal queue. I just take reference from here. Admin API. Put this is dead letter queue. FIFO should be the key. Just a second. I have some. FIFO should be the key. Is there any difference? It is creating normal queue. It should actually, this API FIFO I created through REST API only. This is the tag actually. Is there a different endpoint for this one? No, it's get. I mean, you can see, right? When I did a get call, FIFO false. Why FIFO false? In logic, did I somewhere I might have. Okay, here my bad. So what I did, I was sending this from the request, but in data web transform where I'm trying to send this payload to queue, I haven't mentioned whether it should have a FIFO or not. So that's the reason it is not creating a FIFO. I think I'll do one simple change. I'll just add a condition. Same as this one. I'll say before. Try now. not running. Yeah, I'll just run it in.
Spandana, we are running out of time. Hope you're watching the clock.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just one more thing. Yeah, I'll close this one. Yeah, it got deployed. It go through. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't use same name. It's already there. Before new. Yeah, before true. Now, if I check here, FIFO new, it's a FIFO queue. So, yeah, this is how, like, in code, like, it's just that these are the endpoints which I took from the exchange only. So in order to either to create a queue or to create an exchange, these are the URLs. It's just that for queue it is destination queues queue ID, whereas for exchange it would be exchanges and exchange ID. Those URLs you have to watch out before using this one. And yeah, I mean, I think because this is a trial account, we don't have access for broker API and stats API. Like for admin API, we were able to uh, create like call, configure it, and were able to create queues, right? Whereas for broker API and admin API, it is giving 403 forbidden. Maybe it's some kind of access issue, but if we have, I think, enterprise edition, or we will be able to use them, those APIs. So for non-Mule applications which can be able to consume REST APIs, and they can, I mean, I think in those scenarios we can use REST APIs as well to connect to Anypoint MQ. Mm, yeah. Similarly, how we, I mean, this procedure is same. How we did for admin API, in the same way we can do it for stats and broker API, REST API calls, and we can achieve like whatever functionalities we want. Yes, I'm good with this. Any questions in the REST APIs?
Okay, so we have any questions? Just uh, enable your mic and you can ask the question directly, or we don't. I think we don't have any question, so we can move forward. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
you can stop the screen share. I can take it from here.
We can start the trivia then.
Okay, give me a second.
Thank you, Spandana, for your insight. Long.
Thanks, Giri.
Yeah, you
And
covered
I should
like the
thank
rest. Yeah.
everyone. Yeah, it's today's November 1st for Bangalore team, and they still joined the session.
Yeah, it was very interactive.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sharing the code. So we are playing the quiz on Kahoot, and let me share the pin.
So please make sure that you haven't won any voucher in the last 30 days. So if you are in first three all and you won the voucher in the last 30 days, you won't be able to get the voucher again from the MuleSoft.